Okay, so we're going to talk about grants in this video. Most important thing about grants is to know when to apply, where to apply, beyond just writing for grants. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. First thing you want to do is click on grants and search for all the grants which were received on a specific month a year before. So I have already set up all the grants for August and September 2021. So let's look for grants which we received in October of last year. So we're going to look at 2020, October 1st, and then again 2020, October 31st. Okay, and search. So these are all the grants we had applied for last year for food for thought. I'm going to make these items per page 50 so that we can see, make sure we cover all of them. And then ones in the red are the ones we did not apply for a variety of reasons. It didn't make sense last year because we did not have audited financial and whatnot. But moving forward, we may want to apply. So let's take one example of how we want to handle this. Let's see one of the grant, Van Sway Charitable Foundation, right? So we want to add that grant this year. Last year, we applied on October 7th. We received money on November 12th. We applied for $5,000. We got $4,800. So one thing we want to always do is ask for more than what we received last year. So since we received 4,800, it may be good to apply for 7,500 or 10,000. Okay, so we're going to look at this Van Sway Charitable Foundation grant. So first thing we need to do is add these grants. So what I like to do is have two tabs open. So right click on grants and say open link in new tab. Okay, and when it opens here, click add a new grant. And then you say Van Sway, right? If you remember that, that's what it was. And we click on that. In the grant name, I just put 2021, whatever the year is. Priority, I go by amount. If it is more than 10,000, I put it a high priority. More than 1,000, I put a medium. Less than 1,000, I put low. So this is, let's say, medium. In grant status, we say in progress because we haven't done anything yet. Due date, we put, this is for the month of October. So let's say October 15th, right? We haven't submitted this yet. And amount requested, let's put 7,500, okay? So you will have up to this information right now, and we save this data. As soon as you save, a lot of other options shows up here. So one thing you want to do is add a new task. So you add a new task and you write here, Van Sway grant, okay? It already knows that that's the grant you want. Task type is to write, right? We're going to write this grant, who it is assigned to. So you can assign this to yourself or somebody else in the grant team, right? For now, I'm going to assign this to me. You haven't completed this, so you won't have that, but you do one deadline. So you said this was due October 15th. So I usually keep my deadline a few days before it's due, but it's your choice. And then when you want this to show up on your dashboard, I usually keep it 30 days. But for this example, I'm going to keep 60 days because I'm going to show you something. You can keep 30 days, okay? And then I save and close, right? So now you go to the next one and say, okay, this Belco Foundation I want to apply, right? So again, you go back to grant list, add a new grant, and then start doing this, okay? So you keep doing this until the entire month of October is in here. So this, you must do this at least 30 days, if not 60 days prior, right? So that you know what's coming in the following month. I usually like whole quarter at a time. So that's when I have July, August, and September input all at once. So you might want to do October, November, December together before August is over, okay? So, and then as it's due, it will show up on your dashboard. So if you click on dashboard, right, it will show up, when this is due. Now, in our case, this is due October 15th, so it's not 60 days yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to show you that, so I'm just going to clear my search criteria, and then I'm going to add when sway here. So it shows up. I'm going to go into this grant, and I'm going to look at the grant tasks. And I'm going to edit this task and change my deadline just for this fun, September 30th, so that you know that it shows up. Then I'm going to save this. And now if I go on my dashboard, I see that I have a grant due September 30th because it's within 60 days. I gave 2 months, right? So that way you will see all of your tasks right here if you put at least 30 days, if not 60 days in advance, so that you have everything. This is the most important part of our grant writing process, so that you know every grant which is coming up when we are doing it. For example, in September this year, we're going to be applying for at least $300,000 worth of grant. Let me show you. September, I already put this in. These are all assigned to me, which I will change it to assign to Catherine and Sandy. But $373,000 worth of grant we're going to be writing in September. Okay, so these are all the grant we'll be writing in September. Just to keep that in mind. The other thing to do is sometimes we get unsolicited grants. Somebody will just give us, for example, this Drexler Family Charitable Gift Fund. In 2019, we received $1,000 from them, okay, unsolicited. So we put them in our system and then made sure that we send them a grant request letter 1 month in advance, actually 45 days in advance, and that way they give us more in 2020. So this time we're going to ask for $5,000. Okay, so how do you know? You know this by going here. So if you're writing grants, you must check this on a daily basis, or if at least twice a week. Okay, otherwise it goes in la la land. So when you do that, what happens is, when let's say there's a check coming from some foundation for $1,000 as a grant, you never applied for that, and when that check comes, Bob sends that check to HSJ, and HSJ inputs this in the system. So this is a perfect example. I never applied for this grant for $200, but we got that as a grant. So what I do is make sure that I enter that as a received grant, so that the following year we know to contact them. So in this case, this Right Shirt Family Gift Fund, I will go into grants. I will add a new grant. I will add Right Shirt Family Gift Fund. Okay. I will call it 2020 because that's when we received it. I'll call it low priority because it was only $200. I'll call it awarded because we already got the money. And this is what's important right here. First of all, let's check the award date. Award date is the date we received it. That was August 2nd. Due date, I will put it 2 months before that. So let's call it June 30th. And submission date, I'll call it 15 days before that. So let's call it June 15th. Reason we do this is that next year, when we look for those grants, like I just was showing you, how to enter those grants, sorry, not here, how to look for the grants we received a year before, then you will see that, hey, in June, I need to send them a letter saying, hey, can you give us more money? Since they give us 200, we'll ask for 500. Okay, so we put all that stuff in there, and then this time we save and close because there is no task here. It's already been awarded. This is done so that next year we can follow up with these people. If we don't do that, then there is about $20,000 to $30,000 a year in unsolicited grant we will miss out on, and we don't want to do that. So make sure you definitely do that every day, if not every day, at least once or twice a week. I'm going to cancel this because I already done this for this August 2nd. Okay, so that's all the information regarding how to manage grants in Charity Proud. Well, not all. Let me do one more thing. Let me go back to my dashboard, and I have this Van Sway grant. So once you write the grant, you go into this task, put the completion date, whatever that date is. If you're done, say 100% done, and then you save and close this grant task. Then there's one more thing you have to do. You have to actually go into grant details and change the status from in progress to submitted, and change the submission date to whatever it happens to be, and then save this grant. Now, once you receive the grant, once this grant is awarded to you, either you will get via email, or Bob will send you a copy of the check once you receive the check. Then we go find this grant again. So we go into grants, we go into clear search criteria, we go into source search, and we look for that grant. Okay. In this case, it's submitted grant, of course. We go in there, right? We change the status to awarded. Okay. We put the amount, what they paid us, let's say they gave us $6,000. And then we put the award date for whatever the date we got the check, and save and close. So this is the last thing, right? And this is also very, very important. So I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this grant, because this is something we were just playing with, and I don't want bogus data in our system. So that is deleted. So that is all about grant. Now, only one thing you need to be mindful of is sometimes this grant requires to send grant reports within 12 months. So what I do is every end of June, when our fiscal year ends, we send a grant report out to everybody. Now, some people have specific grant reporting requests. They'll email you and say, hey, go to this website and fill out the grant report. And of course, we do it, in that case, we do it that way. So that's the last piece of each grant. So for every grant, first thing we do is make sure you assign yourself a task to write that grant, add a grant for, new grant for that year, right? Don't use it, the old grant. Then you write the grant, call it a complete task. When you receive the grant, call it awarded grant, and then the grant reporting. So that's kind of workflow for our grants. Hope that makes sense. And if you have any questions, again, there's a lot of help in the system itself, and this video will also be helpful to you.